Beloved, hear this solemn and liberating truth. You have been searching for happiness in all the wrong places, and in doing so, you have not only failed to find it, but you have deepened your misery, hardened your heart, and wandered further from the only source of true and lasting joy. You have chased after pleasure, possessions, popularity, power, and peace, but each has slipped through your fingers like sand, leaving you emptier than before. You have built your life on foundations of sand, relationships that disappoint, careers that exhaust, entertainments that numb, and achievements that fade. And now, in the quiet moments, you feel the hollow ache of a soul that knows it was made for more. This is not a new problem. It is as old as Eden. Adam and Eve had everything: perfect fellowship with God, a paradise without pain, a world without want. And yet they looked beyond the bounds of divine provision and said, "There must be more." They sought happiness in autonomy, in knowledge, in self-determination, and found only shame, fear, and exile. Their sin was not merely disobedience. It was the tragic exchange of true joy for a counterfeit that promised life but delivered death. And you are doing the same. You look to your career for fulfillment, but when you succeed, you fear losing it. When you fail, you feel worthless. You look to romance for meaning, but when love is given, you doubt its sincerity. When it is taken, you are crushed. You look to wealth for security, but the more you gain, the more you fear losing it. The more you spend, the more you crave. You look to pleasure for relief, but it is a cruel master that demands more and satisfies less. You look to your children for purpose, but when they thrive, you worry. When they stumble, you despair. You look to your health for peace, but the body is frail, and death casts its shadow over every joy. You have been looking for happiness in all the wrong places, because you have forgotten that happiness is not a thing to be found, but a person to be known. First, the world's promises are lies. The world offers you happiness on its terms. Find yourself, express yourself, indulge yourself, protect yourself. It tells you that joy is found in freedom from restraint, in the absence of pain, in the accumulation of pleasure. But these are seductive lies dressed in the language of liberation. Pleasure is not joy. Success is not significance. Comfort is not peace. Approval is not love. The psalmist saw through the illusion. Whom have I in heaven but thee? And there is none upon earth that I desire beside thee. My flesh and my heart faileth, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. Psalm 73:25-26. He had seen the prosperity of the wicked, their ease, their wealth, their laughter, and for a moment he envied them. But then he entered the sanctuary of God and understood their end. Surely thou didst set them in slippery places. Thou castedst them down into destruction. Psalm 73:18. The world's happiness is built on a cliff. It shines for a moment, but the ground is giving way. You have tasted it, you know its bitterness. The party ends, the applause fades, the body ages, the money vanishes, the lover leaves, and you are left with the same hunger you tried to satisfy. Second, your heart was made for God alone. You were not created to find ultimate satisfaction in creation, but in the Creator. Thou hast made us for thyself, Augustine wrote, and our hearts are restless until they rest in thee. This is not poetry, it is physiology of the soul. Your heart has a God-shaped void that nothing else can fill. You can pour in careers, relationships, hobbies, causes, but none will satisfy because none were designed to. Jesus said, "Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled." Matthew 5:6. Not after success, not after love, not after peace, but after righteousness, which is union with God through Christ. True happiness is not the absence of desire, but the fulfillment of the deepest desire, to know God and be known by Him. The world says, satisfy your desires. Christ says, redirect them. The world says, find your joy in yourself. Christ says, lose yourself to find it. The world says, pursue happiness. Christ says, pursue me, and happiness will follow. Third, happiness is found in holiness, not comfort. You have sought happiness in ease, but true joy is found in obedience. You have avoided the cross, but the path of life runs through it. Blessed are they that mourn, blessed are the meek, blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake. Matthew 5:4-10. These are not the conditions the world celebrates, and yet Jesus calls them blessed. Why? Because holiness aligns the soul with reality. Sin distorts, compromise confuses, worldliness numbs, but holiness brings clarity, peace, and deep joy even in suffering. Paul and Silas were in prison, their backs raw from beating, and they sang at midnight, Acts 16:25. Why? Not because they loved pain, but because they knew the presence of Christ was worth more than freedom from chains. Their happiness was not circumstantial, it was Christ-saturated. You will never find lasting joy while clinging to sin. Secret lust, hidden bitterness, unrepented pride, these are not small compromises, they are soul killers. They poison your joy because they separate you from the source of joy. Thou wilt show me the path of life. In thy presence is fullness of joy. At thy right hand there are pleasures forevermore. Psalm 16:11. Note in thy presence, not in your plans, not in your pleasures, not in your peace, in his presence. Fourth, you must die to find life. The greatest obstacle to your happiness is not your circumstances, it is yourself. Your self-will, your self-reliance, your self-seeking. Jesus said, "Whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it." Matthew 16:25. You have tried to build a life that serves you, your comfort, your image, your desires. But the soul was not made to be its own center. It was made to orbit Christ, and until you dethrone yourself, you will remain restless. This is not easy, it is death. If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. Luke 9:23. Deny yourself, not occasionally, daily. Say no to your flesh. Say yes to the Spirit. Choose holiness over happiness, so that true happiness may follow. Fifth, the cross is the only true path to joy. You have looked for happiness and escape, but Christ offers it in embrace. Embrace of the cross, embrace of suffering for righteousness' sake, embrace of surrender. For the joy that was set before him, Christ endured the cross, despising the shame. Hebrews 12:2. He did not avoid pain, he embraced it for the sake of joy. And his joy was not in the pain, but in the purpose, redeeming you. Your trials are not meaningless. Your losses are not wasted. Your suffering is not the end. It is the path to deeper joy. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. Psalm 35. The morning always comes, but only after the night. Sixth, true happiness is other-centered. You have sought happiness in self-gratification, but it is found in self-giving. It is more blessed to give than to receive. Acts 20:35. The world says get, Christ says give. The world says protect your joy, Christ says pour it out. When you serve the poor, forgive the offender, love the unlovely, and lay down your life for others, you do not lose joy, you multiply it, because in losing yourself, you find the very purpose for which you were made. Seventh, eternal perspective transforms present pain. You judge your happiness by today, but eternity changes everything. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. 2 Corinthians 4:17. Your pain is temporary. Your joy is eternal. If you live for this world, you will be disappointed. If you live for the next, you will be satisfied. Final invitation. So stop chasing shadows. Stop building on sand. Stop seeking happiness in places that cannot give it. Come to Christ, not as a means to happiness, but as your only hope. And in Him, you will find what you've been searching for all along. Not a feeling, but a person. Not a moment, but a forever. Not a dream, but a reality. For in His presence is fullness of joy. And in that joy, you will finally rest. Amen.